Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about attachment styles. Starting off with the avoidant attachment. People with sprinkles of anxious attachments, okay? You guys always know I have to share the inspo, okay?
The older I got, the more desensitized I got to intimacy.
Now, I'm gonna be honest, I rarely make a video that I can relate to 100%. Like, in the moment, this is how I feel. But this brother hit it on the head, and I'm actually gonna tag him. So that's how you know I'm serious. I've been battling with this with myself on a day-to-day basis, just not being interested in other people. Never been like that. I've always been a person that loves to flirt, loves to have a crush. But I'm so disconnected at this point in my life, and I couldn't even tell you why. And when you attempt to explain this to some people, they just look at you like you're crazy. They just look at you like, nah, I can't relate. But the older I get, I actually start to think about some of the things that people will say is be like, oh, you wasn't meant to have that many partners. Oh, you shouldn't experience too much. Well, it kind of makes sense. You have all these different experiences. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but you'll most likely remember the ones that are bad, and that probably plays into your subconscious that makes you just want to detach and be avoidant from everyone, because why would you want to go through that all over again?
Now that's what inspired, okay? So then I'm like, let me watch the guy's video that he said what he's talking about, being desensitized to intimacy.
You know, the older I got, the more desensitized I got to intimacy, and that's really sad. I remember when I was younger, I was like, man, this girl hugged me. She must really like me. I had to learn later on that girl doesn't like you just because she hugged you. Then it was, oh, she kissed me. She must really like me. I had to learn later on that just because she kissed you doesn't mean she liked you.
I wish I could play the whole freaking thing, but the damn music in the back. How he was just explaining being cuddled up with somebody and his partner could care less about this connection. That doesn't mean that they like you, all this stuff. This is the experience of dealing with somebody with an avoidant attachment style. I wouldn't even say this is just a Gen Z thing, but yes, them, Gen Z, us, very risk averse. And this goes into that avoidantness, not wanting to take a chance to be in a relationship because it is risky. You can go through a loss. You can go through a transformation or whatever it is. And avoidant dismissive people, avoidant attachment people go through that because they don't want to change. So let's get into it.
They're probably unaware of this, but this skit is a recreation of their childhood trauma. Now let me explain. The girl is uncomfortable with touch, and maybe intimacy as well, in which case she might have what you call an avoidant attachment. At some point in childhood, she learned that physical touch was not safe. She probably felt suffocated growing up as well. The guy, on the other hand, is craving physical touch, perhaps craving intimacy overall, and probably has an anxious attachment. At some point in childhood, he experienced neglect. Parents who gave him extremely inconsistent attention, so it created a void that he now spends the rest of his life trying to fill, chasing and chasing. And this is what people do. Recreate their childhood experience in relationships, repeating the cycle of running away from their fears or chasing that need that they didn't get as a child. And when a couple continues to fail to fulfill each other's childhood needs, a wall of resentment will get bigger and bigger until they eventually break up, only to repeat the cycle again with new partners. But it doesn't have to be this way. By learning each other's attachment styles, childhood wounds, being very patient, and beginning to heal the childhood trauma, this cycle can be stopped. An example of the skit, if they begin to heal, the girl can learn to be more comfortable and appreciative of touch and intimacy, and the guy can learn to be satisfied with more moderate amounts of intimacy. Basically, both of them coming into a more harmonious balance resulting from the healing.
I really like that. Okay, we're gonna play the next video, and the title says avoidance cringe when you want closeness and intimacy.
Avoidantly attached people actually like intimacy. They want to be close to you. They want to be in love with you. They want to have a relationship that they found their person. They don't have to date anyone else anymore. They want to find that. think we forget a lot of times that avoidantly attached people are still humans. They still want to find love. But here is the issue. The minute they get it, the minute they get close to someone and they're all cuddled up on the couch and just spending a lot of good quality time together, avoidantly attached people freak out and they realize, I'm just not into this person anymore. I'm not attracted to this person anymore. I don't want to be close to them. I don't want to spend as much time with them. It's kind of getting boring. It's getting redundant. And avoidance can get the ick. In other words, if you start to get all over your avoidant partner and you're showing them that you really love them and you love spending time with them and you say all these lovey-dovey things over text or in person and just you let it out, and they will start to get the ick. It's very cringy to the avoidant attached person because they don't want to feel stuck. So the minute that you're like, I love you, I want to be with you forever, in their head they're like, forever? Then how will I ever be free? How will I ever be like that single person? I don't want that. I don't want to feel stuck. And the frustrating thing for most avoidantly attached people is they can't control this thought process. So the minute you start to get close, the minute you guys the commitment turns into a full-blown relationship, which turns into talking about moving in, etc., they cannot control the ick. They can't control the voice in their head saying, I am just not into them anymore. I don't know what I saw before, but I'm not feeling it anymore. And that's it. And it's they try so hard to be present, to feel the way they did before, but they can't. It doesn't come back up to the surface. And it's really frustrating for the avoidant because they start to blame themselves. Oh, here we go again, just another relationship that didn't work out, just add it to the list. And it just brings up this really negative feeling of shame. It's will I ever get it right? Why am I like this? But because it didn't work out, it's it only validates this belief that they had that they'll never be in a relationship. Does that make sense? It's the avoidant has a 180 flip. The minute you start talking about intimacy and being close and all these things, it's they don't want to do it. And so they just flip. And that's when the attraction shuts off. That's when all of the emotions that they felt for you are numbed. And when you don't feel anything, when you're completely numb, how can you continue developing a relationship? You can't. So you start to distance yourself from the person, and then you start to kind of lose that connection and closeness that you had until it's you're dating a ghost and it feels really weird and off. But here's the catch. Then when the avoidant lets go because they just can't do it anymore, they break up with you, the anxious is still pursuing the avoidant because they feel completely lost. The anxious doesn't want to be alone. They don't want to be rejected. And they need the avoidantly attached person to basically stabilize them.
I feel sometimes avoidance, when they do flip that switch in certain cases, they know their goal was acquired and they no longer need that person anymore. They no longer want that person anymore. Goal was acquired. Whatever that goal was, or goal isn't gonna be acquired because now there's other parameters here. There's other things I need to show up for and do. And I'm not willing to go through a whole series of a relationship, Some avoidant people really have those blinders on and navigate in relationships like that because they have a goal. They have something that they want from you. And if you're not going to give it to them, what they look like trying to pursue you. Now let's get into this next video. Let's break this down when it comes to avoidant men.
Avoidant men obsess about you during no contact. See, avoidant men or women, we'll focus on men, value space. However, you may not know this, but avoidants also fantasize about love or meeting the one. So when they break up with you, or y'all stop talking, or the situationship ends, because the avoidant man now has space, they feel safe, their guards and walls go down, and positive thoughts of little old you start to flood their subconscious mind. Especially if you two were together for long or had a deep connection. Before we continue, check the courses in my bio if you're trying to go from anxious attachment to secure attachment, or just want to learn more about yourself and grow. Now, as these positive thoughts of you flood the avoidant man's mind, that begins to create positive emotions. The more positive emotions he has, the more positive emotions he feels about you. The more tiempo goes by, look it up, and the more space there is for this cycle of positive thoughts and positive emotions go back and forth within him, eventually causing him to obsess about little you, because he feels you are the one who got away, causing him to obsess even more. But in my professional opinion, you should focus more on learning and growing, or learning to become securely attached. Because even if he comes back, if he still has avoidant attachment and you still have anxious attachment, y'all are in for a hell of a dance.
I'm trying to look up what tiempo means, and I think that means temperature.
I think we can all agree that avoidantly attached people are weird. But since I was so fucking interested in psychology since I was 6, I'm gonna tell y'all ways to love an avoidant partner. Loving an avoidant partner is a full-time fucking job. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a full-time job if they don't want to break out that barrier to themselves. I used to push out the agenda that people with like a avoidant kind of attachment style, they don't love you enough to want to change that about themselves. But I also stumbled upon the idea that that's not true, and it's also a childhood wound that you gotta take into consideration. Most people with an avoidant attachment style, they are comfortable with being shitty. What I mean by that is, they are so comfortable with being in their own shit that when it's time for them to get out of their shit, they don't want to get out of their shit, so they're comfortable with pushing you away and stepping back into their shit. Now, with an avoidantly attached partner, you need to know that they need space. What I mean by that is, you need to make sure that you're offering a safe space for them to come back to. This safe space cannot be smothering, it cannot be coddling, it cannot strip them away from their freedom. Usually with avoidantly attached partners, in childhood, love was disregarded, it wasn't acknowledged, and it wasn't treated. So that love that was not fulfilled as a child is waiting to be fulfilled as an adult, or later on down in life. In order to love an anxiously attached person, you need to tell them, instead of telling them, talk to me, I'm here, rephrase that with whenever you are ready, I'm here to talk. The reason that the second phrase is better than the first phrase, because the second phrase lets them know. It lets them know that they still have their freedom. It lets them know that they still have the ability to go and self-regulate and do what the fuck they want to do. But the reason why you don't want to say the first phrase is because it's scarier to them. The first phrase not only takes away from that option of freedom, but it makes them feel like they're obligated to talk to you immediately instead of dealing with the problem themselves.
That's doing too much. That's doing too much. That is doing way too much, because you trying to do all of this is coddling their insecurity. Being an avoidant attachment is just harboring insecurities and self-resentment, self-shame. And for some reason, some people who have this style think they're so fucking cool. This one dude that I like experienced this in my adult life with, swore he was so cool. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my, I saw right through it. Because it's self-hatred. They don't like themselves enough to want to let themselves have love or experience love, be cared for. They don't like that. It doesn't feel safe or whatever. And it's like, you're a grown-ass adult. You're not in a abusive situation. Let's really frame this in a way where it's an actual safe environment. And I feel like avoidant attachment people don't like to have humbling moments that change their perspective, because they are afraid of change. So no, I don't agree with the last video. He was talking way too much about how to sustain their bullshit, and you can't do that. It's not sustainable. What the heck? That's not secure either. What do you look like trying to maintain somebody's shortcomings? No. They need to get their ass up. They need to change. They need to embrace this motherfucking change. Let's get into this next video.
You didn't scare your avoidant off. You exposed them. They weren't overwhelmed by your love. They were confronted with their own emotional immaturity. You keep thinking, ruminating, was I too much? Too emotional, too available, too expressive? No, you weren't too much. You were just real. You showed up, you communicated, you loved with intention. And that didn't scare them. It exposed them. It exposed the fact that they didn't know how to handle someone who actually wanted depth. It exposed the gap between what they said they wanted and what they actually were ready for. It exposed their emotional avoidance, their lack of self-awareness. It exposed their fear of being truly seen. Because when an avoidant meets healthy love and they're not ready for it, it feels threatening. Not because of the love itself, but because of what it demands. Accountability, consistency, growth. They weren't overwhelmed by you. They were overwhelmed by what being with you would require of them. So they blame your energy, your intensity, your expectations. But it was never about that. It was about their inability to meet you at that level. So no, you didn't scare them off. You just reminded them of everything they're not ready to become. I'm really sorry. I hope this helps.
Oh my God. This was the best, the best video to like sum it up, everything like that when you do experience somebody when you do have a relationship with somebody who is in that kind of energy.
I don't think people understand how hard it is when your toxic trait is self-isolation plus avoidance, but your love language is physical touch and quality time. This is one of the reasons why people think avoidants are just self-centered and that they're heartless, but they're absolutely not. They're human, and they long for affection and attention just like any other human does. The problem is that there is some type of subconscious belief that they have, and fear is what drives avoidance. Always remember that. Whatever you fear is going to cause you to avoid. This is even for people who are not avoidants. The biggest thing that you'll see for avoidance is that whatever calls for emotional vulnerability or emotional connection is going to trigger their safeguard to avoid and isolate. Isolation is their little bubble. It is the way that they have probably learned how to cope or defend themselves for whatever the perceived threat is or whatever it is that they fear. Whatever perception you have of yourself, you are going to project it on another person unless you address your self-perception and your self-image. Remember, our subconscious mind is pretty much a reservoir that holds all of our beliefs, our memories, our experiences, and things like that. And whatever happens in our subconscious mind, whatever triggers those subconscious beliefs are going to push forward to be conscious thoughts and conscious behaviors. And this is why most avoidant personalities or avoidant attachments sabotage, because it is their natural safeguard. There is something that they have possibly had to learn how to do in their childhood or previous relationship where they couldn't express themselves emotionally. They didn't have the emotional space, or people were not emotionally vulnerable, or people were not emotionally expressive. And so they've had to learn how to deal and how to cope with their feelings in this manner. There's a constant conflict of wanting intimacy and connection, but fearing emotional pain. And this is one of their biggest struggles. And this does make it hard to be in a relationship with an avoidant person because you really never know exactly which way the relationship is going to go. You have moments where they are affectionate and they're intimate, especially when it comes to sexual matters. But then the moment that it calls for like emotional conversations or things that drive emotional connection and things like that, you'll see them start to push back because they're afraid. They're either afraid of being hurt. They're either afraid of being seen as vulnerable. Maybe they think that vulnerability is equivalent or equates to weakness. If you are an avoidant person, you need to figure out exactly what is it that made you create these walls. Probably want to link it back to your formative years or your formative stages, so early on.
Now, she kind of broke it down a little bit better because yes, they are human. Yes, they're gonna be in relationships inevitably, but I don't agree with the verbiage of it. Their reactions to certain things is their safeguard. No, that is a trauma response. Their bodies have alerted that this is a threat. Even though it's not, it's just somebody trying to be in a relationship with you, and it's a new kind of relationship, okay? Your body is telling you this is unpredictable, and we cannot thrive in unpredictability. We need to have a partner or somebody that is predictable. And that really means for somebody who is avoidant to be the one in control of the relationship, to be the one who has the say and the this, that, like, it's manipulation. That can be a form of manipulation while being in relationships with people who have this kind of style.
My anxious attachment folks, I hate to break it to you, but you are also avoidant. Let me break that down for you and what I mean. So often anxious attachment has villainized the avoidant and thinks, oh, well, they just run away and they're avoiding talking about their feelings, and I'm here and I'm trying and I'm putting so much effort and the avoidant's not doing anything. But what you're actually missing is you are also avoiding the same thing that the avoidant is. And no, this isn't just about expressing your emotions, but it's about actually sitting with them and reconnecting with yourself to see what it is that you actually want. Think about it. You start dating somebody and they are giving you breadcrumbs. They are making you run after them, and you are constantly always so hyper-focused on them and what are they doing and why aren't they responding and when are they online and what are they thinking of you. When have you stopped to ask anything about yourself? Because realistically, especially in the early stages of dating, you don't really know these people. So by projecting all of these things onto them and by hyper-focusing on them, you're taking the attention away from yourself and having to do any work on yourself to figure out, what about this behavior is attractive to me? What seems familiar about this? Have I seen this behavior before? Where did I learn this from? What about their unavailability is so appealing to me? Because the rejection and abandonment wound isn't because these other people are rejecting or abandoning you. You barely know these people. It's because you're doing that to yourself. And reaffirming your core belief that you are not good enough or worthy, and kind of just staying in this perpetual loop because it's safe to you. You understand that, and your nervous system does as well. The next time you get caught up so enamored by somebody else, start to take that inwards and look at yourself. Every single time you want to think about them, start thinking about you. What is this saying about you? Because somebody secure would walk away saying, hey, I'm doing my thing, they're doing theirs, we'll meet when we meet, and if not, it's all good. I was good before them, I'll be good after. Instead of hyper-focusing on every single move they make because your mood is determined and dictated by their participation in your life. And by allowing people to determine your mood and self-worth, you are allowing them to have power over you. So maybe now it's time for you to look in the mirror and start to assess, what are the parts of yourself that you have been avoiding looking at? Where can you show up for yourself? And how and what do these people represent to you? I can promise you start to do this, you'll actually start to heal so that you can effectively date without being so fucking enamored by somebody after 1 or 2 dates simply because you think this guy is going to be everything and you don't even know this person.
Okay, that was intense. That was a lot. Okay, she said a whole lot. Now, a comment on here says, I honestly can't handle any of the information you give out. I feel like it's a lose-lose and I'm better off being alone. Sounds like me. Shut up. The creator replied and she said, I get it, but nah, avoiding doing the work on yourself and staying single isn't a healthy alternative. Facts. Oh my god, that is so funny. Now, my little tidbit, I do feel like anxious attachment people do need to date more than one person, or they need to be in an ethical non-monogamous situation, because they have all this goddamn energy. You need more than one person to focus on. You need more than one stimuli of a person, because anxious attachment people are very relationship based. They're the ones who thrive in that. Okay, they wouldn't take things so personal because they have other things to focus on and other things to develop in those other relationships, and then they'll realize, oh, this relationship isn't really giving as much as A and B, so see, you gotta go and replace it with a D.
When someone is trying to get close to me, I will immediately start to feel suffocated. I'll start to feel like I need to find something wrong with you so that you don't get too close, even if I want you to get close. But it's because there's a part of me doesn't want to be vulnerable, because vulnerability in that area means being exposed. It means being raw. I think to put it very simply, I think it's a feeling of, if you really get to know me, you might abandon me. And I think this is not something that's even, on a conscious level, because I have a strong sense of self. I know who I am, etc., etc. But I think there is still those sort of traces from childhood, from everything that I've experienced in my life, that are those remnants of that have that voice that say, if I really let you in and you actually get to know me, you might abandon me. So what I need to do, I need to find a way to get in there first and abandon you before you abandon me.
Sick. I agree a little bit. Abandonment issues are highly rooted in all these attachment styles that are dysfunctional. What she kind of explained was how it's like subconsciously a power dynamic kind of thing. If you have to play power dynamic games with somebody, that person is not for you. They are not your mate, they are not your partner. They don't even respect you enough to have a genuine, regular, regulated relationship. I don't know how people do this. It's tiring. It's not a good kind of pattern to try to maintain. That fear of abandonment is also a fear of you're trying to control who stays in your life and who you allow in your life. Some people don't know how to just build a relationship, or just to even just be cool, or to be there, hold space. So let's get into this next thing. So just think about that. Chew on that for a sec, okay? Let's get into this next video though. I really like this one.
You gotta understand that avoidants are constantly micro-ghosting people. They are always detaching from partners when there's conflict. And when you do that enough times, your romantic social muscle memory starts to decrease. And you'll be essentially operating through a reptilian mind. So eventually what it starts turning into is them focusing on their creature comforts. The bare minimum. Eat, sleep, food, and schmecks. And so what happens is the adaptive interpersonal traits that people develop, they never fully develop. It's just baseline comfort. That's it. And now when you come in challenging them to be better, or you bring up some type of conflict, they perceive that as you trying to disturb their peace. You're trying to disturb their dinner, you're trying to disturb their sleep, you're trying to disturb their opportunity to get some schmecks, you're trying to disturb, it's always disturbing to them. It's never something that they look at like this needs urgent care. This needs urgent attention. They don't look at it that way. And because of that, they will forever undermine the situation. They will always sabotage it because they think that it's a disturbance rather than this is some conflict that needs to be solved ASAP. Their bond towards you is completely superficial. It is an outside bond. They look at your love like it's a piercing that leaves a gaping hole. You feel like their love is like a tattoo. It forever chemically changes you. It's insane, but for them, love creates shame. And for you, love creates change. Geez, when an avoidant says that they want to focus on themselves, what they're saying is that they want to focus on not being with someone that needs communication, that they don't want to be with someone that needs reassurance. They don't want to be with somebody who wants them to be reliable. They don't want to be with someone that needs a fluid connection where they could talk about emotions, where they have space to be safe enough to share their highs and lows. They don't want that. They want to be with someone who is easy, someone who doesn't require any of that. They want someone who's a robot, who's just like them, who's quick to run away when there is conflict, so it's never solved. So there's no work to be done. They literally don't want to be with someone that they have to acknowledge when they walk into the living room. They don't want to be with someone that's telling them, hey, I'm going through all this pain. They don't want to be with someone they have to validate. They don't want to be able to acknowledge that they're causing you this type of trauma. They don't want to be with someone that values a harmonious household, because that would mean that they would have to sit there and care and solve the problem. And that's why I stand by avoidants are for recreational entertainment only. They're like little ants that get through the cracks and go and sniff out sugar and leave back to their dirt pile. Stop entertaining them. Save yourself. Avoidants are like windshield wipers. They wipe off the rain because they just want to see where they need to go. It's not because they know why there's rain. They don't care about the rain. They're freaking little robots. They just do this and keep going. Treat avoidants like food compactors. All the shit that you don't need, throw it in there. Throw the scraps in there.
Okay, that was funny.
Come on, shake my hand.
Now this says avoidant attachment love bombing you because you are the one they've been waiting for, ignores red flags, and all these quotes that come up and they're saying let me read it. I'm just a bit confused right now. Basically this is what avoidance excuses are. I'm just a bit confused right now. I feel smothered. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Oh my god, if I had a bullet. Okay, why are they being so needy? This was never a relationship. Oh, that'd be the one line they'd love to say. I just need some space. I've always been very independent. What are we doing? What? Como te amas? Get the fuck. Crazy. That was funny. Okay, now let's get into another psychologist perspective.
Avoidant attachment style. Our attachment style is the greatest predictor of how does a person end up having an avoidant attachment style? Our attachment style is the greatest predictor of how we behave in relationships. Someone who is avoidant was raised without an adult to attune to their emotions. They grew up in an environment where they didn't see adults clearly communicate, work through their issues, and respect each other's differences of opinions. Most avoidants grew up in a home where nothing was really talked about. Everything was either ignored or swept under the rug. So the adult who was avoidant was a child who couldn't express their emotions. And when they did express their emotions, they were either dismissed, told to stop being dramatic, or even punished. So this person ends up learning that they must avoid their emotions because they're unsafe. This is why the avoidant who suppresses their own emotions usually ends up ignoring the emotions of other people because they just feel too overwhelming and too unsafe. What the avoidant person needs to understand is that running away from feelings actually makes relationships more difficult. The other person feels shut out and unheard, and it keeps them from actually getting the emotional connection that they've been seeking since childhood.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Avoidants will spend the majority of their lives alone, not because they want to be, but because they're terrified to stay. And that's the thing about avoidance. They don't fear love. They fear what love requires, which is closeness, vulnerability, and the risk of being truly seen. And that's terrifying when your deepest belief is, if I let you get too close, you'll hurt me. So they do what they know best. They create distance. They'll ghost you, not because they don't care, but because caring feels unsafe. They'll push you away, not because they don't want to lose you, but because keeping you hurts more. And they'll say things like, I'm just not ready for a relationship, but the truth is they're not ready to be known. Because to an avoidant, intimacy feels like entrapment, and the closer you get, the more they want to run, not from you, but from the fear of losing themselves. But the most tragic part of all, they actually crave connection deeply. They want love badly, but they'll sabotage it instinctively. Because in their world, distance equals safety, and closeness, well, closeness feels like a threat. So they leave before they can be left, and they withdraw before they can be hurt, and they isolate before anyone can abandon them. But in doing so, they end up living the very life they fear the most. Alone. Because no matter how hard you run from intimacy, the truth is distance won't protect you from heartbreak. It will only guarantee that you never experience love at all.
Yes, he said that. Right on time, right on point. Avoidants have a lot of shame. They have some shit they need to forgive themselves for, or whatever it is. It's like, how could you love me and I hate these parts of myself? Like, next one. This is coming from somebody who is a dismissive avoidant. Let's give them a voice. All right.
Dismissive avoidants are very detached. Me as a dismissive avoidant, I could tell you that we do not like feelings. We do not like emotions. Investing into emotions is one of the worst ideas because it takes away from mental peace. Not only does it take away from mental peace, but it distracts you from your reality, and it makes you focus on feelings that are going to decrease your value eventually. So, when a dismissive avoidant is in love, they don't really show that love. It's very hard for them to show it. Mentally, it's exhausting for them. Like, if I was to be in a relationship, this person is never going to be fucking happy. I'm letting you know right now, this person will never be fucking happy. Like, they won't get whatever the fuck they want. Like, they will never get what the fuck they want from me. They won't get the love, they won't get the feelings, they won't get the emotional stuff. Like, I'm completely shut the fuck off. Like, there's no way you're going to break that from me. You know what I'm saying? And, like, as much as I'm interested in you and all that shit, like, I don't give a fuck about you. Straight the fuck up. That's just how it is. Like, I'm just focused on my mental peace, and I feel like you should be doing the same motherfucking thing. You should be on that mental peace as well. I don't know what the fuck you're doing waiting for me to give you mental peace. You should be on that fucking journey for your motherfucking self while I'm on my motherfucking journey doing that shit for my motherfucking self. And together we're both on our own journeys, and we're beating through this together. You know what I'm saying? Just you and me. That's how this works. I'm not gonna fucking try to be your mental peace, and I don't want you to be my motherfucking mental peace. I got mental peace already. See what I'm saying? That's the luxury of having mental peace, is that you don't need anybody to fucking give you mental peace. You don't care. If it's there, it's there. If it's not there, it's not there. It's cool. But I have mine. That's all that matters to me. It's like having separate bank accounts. All right? That's very fucking important. You gotta have separate bank accounts. I don't give a fuck about all that bullshit. Have your bank account, I have my bank account. I do what I do with my money. You do what you need to do with your money. Fantastic. That's how this works. I won't mind giving you that kind of encouragement, that kind of power, that kind of push whenever you need it. But also, you know, it has to be reciprocated in order for me to even want to do anything like that. It's all about understanding that we're so detached to the point where we're just not even caring about the fact that it's a relationship. That's how detached. I wouldn't recommend dating a dismissive avoidant. Let me be real honest. Don't ever fucking try to see yourself getting into something with a dismissive avoidant. Unless you're a dismissive avoidant as well, then you have a possibility. You have a whole motherfucking connection with them because you understand them, you understand their language, you know what the fuck it is, what it's about. That's when you could actually fucking see yourself in a relationship with them. But if you don't, if you're not a dismissive avoidant and you're jumping into a relationship with them, be very motherfucking careful. You'll end up very, very emotionally distressed, and you'll probably be asking yourself, damn, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? Yeah, you'll probably end up calling them a fucking narcissist, if anything. You'll be like, oh, they're a narcissist. No, they're not a narcissist. They just like their fucking peace. They just like their fucking value way too much over any fucking mental stress or emotional stress. They don't want to invest in emotional understandings. They don't give a fuck. They just want to do their own thing, go about their life, and enjoy life as much as they can while they're still here.
Out of the mouth of the poster child of a dismissive avoidant. This is their mentality. This is their mentality. This is what the fuck you signing up for. I'll be damned. I won't be damned. I won't be damned because this ain't it. That is not it. Walking Dead, no kind of empathy or anything, and you could be having full-on intimacy with them, and they got the nerve. So this is what y'all signing up for. If you want to understand how to be with an avoidant attachment person that's heartless, they're crazy. I don't think any of them want love. Like, this is, he explained that perfectly. So anyway, if you've ever been through any relationship like this, I mean, I have, and it is tumultuous. It's terrible. They're like narcissists, they're different, but a dismissive avoidant, oh my god, you will feel like whatever you do in life is just not enough. If you've went through something like this, share with me your stories. Maybe we can get on here and talk about some story times and just chat it away, because I'm getting triggered. I want to key some cars right now. I'm working on myself though. So, you know what? I'm not gonna do that. I'll catch y'all in the next one, okay? Ciao.